Hello, and welcome to our virtual studio visit. I'm Erin Becker, Norma Jean Calderwood, Director of the Cambridge Art Association, and today we're visiting with Haleh Fotowat in her Cambridge-based studio. So I'm going to hand over the presentation to Haleh.
Hello, everyone. It's really great to see you all here virtually in my studio and talk to you a little bit about my work. Hope you all are doing well and the storm didn't destroy anything in your house last night. So I work in my home studio. So basically I use my living room as my working space. And when I do paintings, I kind of clear out everything from either the table or the floor, and then use that surface to do my paintings. And I mainly, I do paintings on flat surfaces. So either paper or unstretched canvas, sometimes cardboard, which I'm going to talk about all of them today. And then if you have questions, maybe you can type it on the chat box and then at some point I can answer them. So a little bit about myself. So I am not, I didn't go to art school and my training is in science, but I've always been doing a lot of art in my life, a lot of music, and then took some painting classes, and more recently I'm doing more paintings than earlier years. And in science, I'm a neuroscientist, and what I'm interested in understanding is how memory works. And I do that using fish as a model system. So fish do remember things. It's not true that they have a 2-second memory. But I'm not going to go into that. So today I'm going to talk about art, and later if you have science questions, I can answer that too. Yeah, so in general, what interests me, I thought, is to see things and to feel things and to document them. So I would think that to document them and to, just to make a whole catalog of everything that goes on in the world that I have sensed, which is clearly impossible. But I kind of, that's what interests me, and I like that. And I'm interested in vision, so looking at things for long periods of times, looking at images, looking at shapes, and also movements. So I'm going to talk about those two aspects. Yes. So at some point I started doing a lot more paintings, and that was kind of triggered by a trip that I did to Baltimore, Maryland, for work-related stuff. And when I used to take this shuttle to go to work, which was super bumpy, so I couldn't do anything. So me wanting to like look at things and also always want to do something, took a pad, like a drawing pad, with me on the shuttle bus and put my pen on the paper and let my hand go around with the movement, just not involuntarily as a result of the bus movement. And drew those patterns, and at night I went home and did put paint on them, and then started looking at them and see faces and animals and would paint them out. So that was kind of the trigger of started doing a lot of these kinds of paintings. And then when I went back home, at that time I was living in Ottawa in Canada, I still continued doing that a lot, and usually doing paintings with kind of involuntary movements and drawings with involuntary movements, and then making them into paintings. And so I kind of want to do an interactive thing now. So this is one of the things that's really amazes me. I don't understand how this works, but like if you raise one arm and just let it be there, right? And don't voluntarily move it at all. And if you just leave it there, you would see that after some time, it would slowly start to drift on its own somehow, right? I don't know, you can try it later, but I'm not voluntarily moving this, but then like it's kind of going a little bit up And then maybe at some point it would start doing this and then doing that, right? So it would do things that I don't expect. And I'm interested in that. And I'm interested in bringing that onto paper. So using things like that to start a painting, and then from there, adding paint, and then going from there kind of, and they're all going to be kind of abstract. So I wanted to share with you my screen so that I can show you on my website some of the paintings, and then later on, I'm going to walk around the room to show you the stuff in person. Anybody has questions up to now? No. Okay. All right. So some of the early stuff I used to do was things that I would make these drawings on paper and then add paint and then try to see images of animals and faces in them. This is one of them that is like, it started with a drawing, but then I added paint, and now I look for things. So I saw this big fish eating a little fish and things like that. So like this one also started with some spontaneous movements, and then I saw these images. I added this, oh, this is an elephant, this is a lobster or whatnot. But then at some point I decided I don't want to bring things out. I want people to see it by themselves and kind of see what they want to see. And yeah, so another example of more recent stuff I wanted to show you is things with these spontaneous movements I was talking about. Like you can see, I don't know how well you see this, but you can maybe do this. You can see these pencil drawings in the beginning are made kind of on the fly and somehow a combination of my hand doing what it wants to do, but also I listen to a lot of music when I do my paintings. So you can see kind of the drawing in the bottom, and then you see the actual, what it turned out to be in the end on top. And sometimes there would be maybe words, like words that would spontaneously come to my head. Like here, this one, I don't know why I was stuck on letter M. So these words like Maine, May, me. So, and then like some drawings, and then even I had a piece of newspaper. I thought I wanted to put that here. So it's kind of all unplanned, and it goes as I go. And it's usually, I do these paintings at night because during the day I work, I do research. And I spend at night doing this, and the lighting is not the best at night, but I'm always very excited to look at the painting in the morning and see what it looks like. And yeah, it's interesting. It's different, but these are all night paintings. Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to, oh yeah, so the other thing that I do sometimes is really incorporate things that are happening around me that kind of by coincidence. I like to bring them into my paintings. So I wanted to show you something funny happened when I was making this painting, this one. It was funny, so I took a video of it. I'm gonna share that video with you. And I was listening to music. I usually listen to jazz and improvised jazz music. And when I was making this painting on rolled paper, I saw a little insect show up out of nowhere. So sorry, what happened here? I don't know what happened. We lost it. but this now became part of that painting. And if you look, I can show you where it was. It's right here. Yeah, and I like doing that, and I like to like draw out, for example, pieces of dust, whatever random pattern that they're sitting on my painting surface, and kind of incorporating it into my paintings. The other series of things I was working on, so I've done stuff on paper and on stretched canvas, and recently I've been working on cardboard boxes, because I have access to a lot of boxes being recycled where I work, so I thought, why not use them to do some paintings? And yeah, and they all come in different sizes, and I started doing, so all the other stuff I showed you were gouache paintings and oil ink, but these are with acrylic and pastel and on cardboard. And these I did in silence. So usually I listen to music, but these cardboard paintings, I didn't listen to music, most of them. And I was interested in the sound it created when I painted on these, because it's much louder. Cardboard is much louder than paper somehow. And I did recordings. So when I did these paintings, I recorded the sound. Sounds something like this. I want to do something with them at some point. I don't know what yet, but I don't know if you can hear it. Anyway, you probably can't hear it very well, but I'm gonna do something, but not sure yet what. And finally, one thing that's very amazing that I really like, and at some point I want to get back to doing more of that, is using tree branches and twigs in my work. And especially since I moved to Cambridge about 4 years ago, I found that trees here are the most beautiful I've ever seen in any other places I've lived. They're just amazing. And the pattern of branches and the shapes are really beautiful. And as a neuroscientist, it's just amazing how much they look like brain cells. Like the structures, I kind of want to look at them and want to use them in some of my work. And at some point I used to bring all these fallen, like broken branches after a storm back home and use them for something. And I did a few pieces with those. Where is it? Yeah. One of them is this. So this was a really big fallen branch. And then I did this painting, kind of a collage thing, and I kind of juxtaposed them afterwards. I really like that. And like putting stuff within paintings. I tried doing a few things like this. And then at some point I ran out of space because I couldn't have all these branches piling up in my living room. So one day, if I have a bigger studio, I would love to get back to that. So if you have any questions, I can answer them now. Otherwise, I'm going to show you where I work, which is not.
So Haleh?
Yeah.
Margaret Sheldon had a question, so I'm going to unmute her. And I could hear all the video parts that you played were perfect. The sound was really cool. Margaret, go ahead and ask your question.
I was just curious, when you work in the nighttime, how long do those drawings take you? The ones that you say surprise you in the morning?
Sorry, you got caught at some point.
How long?
How long? Yes. Yeah. It depends, but most 99% of the things I've done, I do it one night and it's over, and it takes somewhere between, I don't know, like 2 hours to 5 hours, but not more than that. Like it's all very energetic and fun. And it's like kind of an explosion of the moment. And that's also what I'm interested in too. I kind of want to see on that day, given my history of that day and of course all my past history, what is the pattern that my movements would generate? What are the patterns that my spontaneous movements generate? And that's what interests me, rather than like doing something and then going back to it again the next day and again fixing things. Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay, so if there's no questions, I'm going to briefly walk around my room and show you some of these paintings in person. I'm gonna connect with my phone just a second. Hello. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, great. So I'm going to walk around a little bit. So this is my living room. This is my living room, and this is a table where I do my paintings when I work on smaller pieces of paper. And otherwise, I'm just putting a big piece of plastic on the ground and putting things on the ground and doing that. So here is one of my cardboard paintings that I put on the ground. So it would be on the ground like this, and I would paint just like this. And here is where I keep my art supplies and paint and all these other things. I'm not gonna open these drawers because they're not very clean, but they're not very organized. So my paint and stuff, they all go in there. So whenever I do a painting at night, I would, put the plastic on the ground, bring all the paints and stuff out, and then when it's done, the next day or two, I would clean up. So I would have a clean living room. And this is one of the paintings I did on stretched canvas. I didn't talk much about that, but I did a series of things on these like this. And this one was also inspired by a tree branch. So these are all shadows of a branch I brought home. I put the branch on the canvas and looked at it from different angles, and then different shadows are painted with different colored ink, that the color that I thought that shadow had at that point of view. That's the spider painting. You can see the blue spot on top, right, that the spider was. And yeah, if I go closer, this is also with pastel and charcoal and ink and gouache. And this one is the most recent thing I did. I did this listening to a friend of mine doing a virtual concert and reading his poetry, Elliot Cardinal. And that was very inspiring. So this is the last piece. And I've realized one thing, that there are some elements that appear in my paintings every once in a while. Like in this case, this patches of brown that you can see here. And this is the one I did before this, and it also has some brown patches. And I think that has to do with something about my mind. I don't know what, but I didn't do this consciously. I looked at it afterwards and I thought, oh, this also has this brown things, that has the brown things. This you probably won't see really well because of the light, but I showed you this on the computer. This is the one with the drawings, and then the sunbathing alligator, if you want to see it like that. And that's the other piece that I showed you with words in it. The light is not the best here, but you can see some of the details and little drawings that happen spontaneously. And
Hala, can we go back to the piece that's on the floor again, because you weren't on the spotlight when that happened? Yep, perfect.
okay, sure. Yeah, this is one of the cardboard pieces that, yeah, so this is how, like all of the pieces that are, all of the surfaces that I work on that are bigger than that table would go on the ground, and I work on the ground. I still don't know, and this is like, I recorded a sound making this painting, but I still am thinking about ideas. If you have ideas, that would be nice to hear too. I think I'm done talking about myself, so.
Okay, so far it looks like we have 2 questions. The first one is from Roya. So
sorry, Erin, can you give me a second? I switched to my computer and then
yeah, sure.
I will need.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to find, I can hear myself echoing in there. I'm going to unmute Roya.
Hi, thank you so much for your great presentation.
Sure.
Haleh, I was wondering if you could talk about the most influential artists to you right now. Who are they? Not just, I mean, I don't mean just visual artists, musicians, writers.
I mean, there are a lot. I don't know. I can't pick one. It's a hard question. It would be a long list. So I listen to a lot of improvised jazz music. So for example, that piece with the spider, I was listening to a piece by William Parker. It's called Morning Sunset. And I listen to a lot of that. And also, yeah, I watch a lot of film like Jonas Mekas. It's very inspiring to me. A lot of abstract artists like Joan Mitchell, Helen Frankenthaler. You are an inspiring artist, Roya. I don't know, there's a long list of a lot of people that I like, that I'm sure. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and then we have a question from Golabchi. You are unmuted now. Go ahead.
I don't see you.
Hi. Yeah,
Hello.
because I don't have the
Okay.
video on.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you think about what you're gonna paint before, or you just start with the music? Because the music is pretty inspiring, but do you?
Yeah, I never think about. Yeah, even the pieces that I don't do without music, it starts with me just moving around.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not that you're walking around and you're saying, okay, I think I'm gonna do this.
No, it's more like I'm walking around and I'm like, I have to do a painting now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Just please make sure to type them into the chat window. I guess I have a question for you. Like you talked about the browns and how you feel like the brown patches reflect something that's going on with your mind. What about the other colors? What's inspiring those, particularly when you're listening to music? Is there a correlation between a color and a sound?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think the very first color I put down, I don't know. I absolutely cannot explain why I picked the first color that I put down. That might have to do with something with music or with how I feel. And like, for example, these brown things, I put the brown in first. I have some paintings that have a lot of black in them, and I always like there's this one. Okay, let me show you this one painting that is important to me. Um, this is an old one, but oops, I have to. This one, you see all this black ink in the middle, and it all started first with splashing black, and I was very sad. I was thinking about my dad that passed away a while ago, but somehow I was thinking about him, and I feel like these dark colors, when I start with them, it says something about darkness that I feel. But then from there, after that, all these other things that I use, I think it then has to do with relations. Like, oh, do I feel that this looks good next to that, or that looks good next to this? And then it kind of adds up.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about it in the context of like synesthesia, if you're like, you know, hearing colors or seeing.
Oh, right. I don't have that gift. That would have been nice. No.
Adriana Pratt has a question. I'm gonna unmute her. Go
Hi.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hey.
Beautiful work. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, I was curious. I guess you kind of implied, you know, your methodology or your process. I can see a lot of, you know, scientific, you know, methodology, if you will, like the way you collect sound, and you have this rigor, if you will, about, you know, how you keep up with your work and how you observe your work. But I was thinking about if you can tell us if there is if definitely during the process, the actual process that seems to be so, I don't want to say random, but it's very, you know, like instinctive, intuitive. So where do you think that that is informed by your scientific background or not? Or you can expand about that?
I'm definitely not consciously thinking scientifically when I do paintings. And that's why, like, to me, it's like a different state of mind. And that's one reason I really like to do this so much, because I can now be in this space where I can express everything and I don't have to explain why. Because all the other times, not only I have to explain why, but also have to convince the whole world that the reason why I think that's the case is true by doing a lot of math and like statistical analysis. And I love this about painting after work at night, because then I don't have to think about it. But I'm sure that there is some effect of some abstract effect of what I do. There has to be, because how could it not be? It's me. Yes, I can't separate them, right? Yeah. But I don't consciously think about that at all.
Beautiful. Love that. I love that. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have a question from Marina Strauss. Go ahead, Marina.
Hi, thank you so much. I've been enjoying kind of looking at your artwork, and my background is as an expressive art therapist. So
okay.
Kind of enjoyable to see somebody just like kind of going in with that playfulness and that like being in the moment, kind of not having to explain, and it still has like a positive effect for you. I was curious if you have sold any pieces, and if so, how was that for you to let go of a part of you, you know?
Yeah, I have. And a lot of times there have been people that I know that bought pieces from me, and because I know them and I like them, I actually enjoy. I like the fact that they're now having that themselves. I think a few times that there was somebody that I had never even seen. That was a bit strange, but oh well, you know, get used to this. And then sometimes there are some pieces like the one I showed you that I did for my dad that I think I can never give it to anybody else. Like I want to have it for myself because it means a lot more than other ones. So it changes with the piece. And I really have to decide this in advance. It's a hard decision to say, this I'm going to keep, or that I'm not going to keep. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. And you were looking for ideas. What kind of ideas were you looking for?
I'm
Like
thinking.
you were open and wanting to have some exchange with the people that are watching.
So I was mainly thinking about my audio recordings and how to use them together with the cardboard paintings that they come from. And I don't know, one idea I had was to have some place to show these and then to play the soundtrack in the room, or somehow build a structure with these and then people could go inside and listen to the sounds. I don't know, like I kind of want to think about, still it's unclear in my head what to do with those, and that's, yeah. I wonder.
That idea of including kind of sound and inviting even a movement, like from people in response, like to the sound, and like just like bringing in the people and all the arts together, of inviting movement from the viewers as
right.
experience kind of the sound and the visual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I could invite people to dance with the soundtrack or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 1:02. Does anybody have any additional questions? While you're thinking about that, Haleh, speaking of selling your artwork and seeing more of it, how can people view more of your artwork?
You can go to my website, halehfotowat.com, or my Instagram page. My Instagram page, I share more than my art. It's also videos and pictures that I took. So yeah, either one. And there's my email contact. If you have questions on my website, you can contact me.
Wonderful. And you can find that link on our webpage at cambridgeart.org as well. This session was recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel, I hope within 48 hours, as long as the internet cooperates. And I'm actually going to go ahead and unmute everybody, say thank you to Haleh for letting us visit her studio today.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
With all of you.
Beautiful work.
Oh wait, and we had one more question before we go. Since your art is so spontaneous, when do you know your work is done? When do you put or brush down? Do you stop the music first or stop the painting first?
Oh, always the painting first. The music keeps going. I don't know, and I think that's also a learning process for me. I feel like, but the feeling is kind of like a conversation. It's like I'm having a conversation with someone and I feel like I've said all I wanted to say. And if I say any more, it's going to be too much. And to judge how much is too much, I think that's an evolving thing for me. I could go on and on, but then at some point I have to make a decision. Because also when I work on paper, there's so much water I can put on it anyway. And I don't know, that's also a limiting factor, right? It's not like on canvas that you can put layers and anyway, you have to wait. So yeah, I can't. So I think it's a feeling, basically. Sorry, I don't have a better answer.
That's a great answer.
All right, everybody. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll be hosting more of these. So check out our website at cambridgeart.org/virtual studio visits for updates on our next round of virtual visits. And thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.